Hey guys, it's Haley and welcome to another bookish video. Today I'm going to be getting into my January TBR. I know we are already like a week into January, but this is what I am planning on reading for the first month of 2024, starting out my year right with some horror, some fantasy, some thrillers, and everything in between. I've been really loving diversifying my reading, so I'm very excited to talk to you guys about a ton of different books, like running the entire gamut of books in this video. But before we get into my TBR for this month, I do want to thank the sponsor of today's video, which is Dossier. I absolutely love Dossier fragrances. I literally wear them every single day. They come in the most adorable boxes. Here is one of their perfumes. This is Musky Musk. And the thing about Dossier, oh my god, it's so good, is they smell exactly like the super expensive luxury scents that you smell and lust after in Sephora, but at a much more affordable price without sacrificing any of the quality. Musky Musk smells exactly like Not a Perfume by Juliet Has a Gun, and if you are like not about like super sweet, super strong scents, this is the one for you. Seriously, it smells like just the cleanest, freshest, coolest woman. Like, I want to smell like this at all times, and I can because of Dossier. I absolutely love their scents that smell like the iconic fragrances that we know and love, but I also love their originals. This is one of their Dossier originals. It's called Caramelized Lavender and Hazelnut. Oh my god, this is my going out scent of winter. It smells like the coziest girl bundled up in the corner of a French cafe sipping red wine. I want to be her. And if I'm not her, at least I can smell like her. So while they do have scents that smell like the iconic ones, they also have their originals too, and they are so good. I always get tons of compliments when I wear my Dossier perfumes. They last super long on my skin and on my clothes. I have really sensitive skin and they never irritate me or make me turn red, which a lot of other perfumes, even luxury ones, actually do. And of course, my favorite thing about Dossier is the price point. I'm talking like perfumes that would be $200+ in Sephora are $29 and sometimes less with Dossier. So if you want to check them out, as always, I will link them down below. Thank you so much to Dossier for sponsoring this video. And now let's go ahead and get into my January TBR. As always, we're gonna start out with my Pretty Girl Book Club pick for the month of January, and I am so excited for this one. Now, if you're sitting there like, what the heck is a Pretty Girl Book Club? That is my book club that I host over on Patreon. If you want to join, I have the link down below, and I actually just did an entire revamp of my Patreon. It's all new for 2024. We have new cute little graphics, and I'm doing live shows in a little bit of a different way, and we have new rules and policies to make it safe and fun for everybody. I'm just very excited for all the Patreon things happening in 2024. I absolutely love hosting that community. So go ahead and check it out if you haven't, or if you've been interested but you've never looked into it. Now is the time, especially if you want to read along with us for January. We're reading Voices in the Snow by Darcy Coates. I actually read Dead of Winter by Darcy Coates in December and absolutely loved it, so I was so happy. My patrons voted on Voices in the Snow to be our pick for January. In this book, we are following a woman who has some kind of accident. She's not quite sure what happened and if it was a complete accident or if somebody may have orchestrated it. All she knows is that she wakes up very disoriented in a snowy, isolated cabin, and she is locked in there with a man who seems nice but might be holding her hostage. Also, on top of the accident and the amnesia and being locked away with someone who might have cruel intentions, there are things happening outside of this house in the snow that are freaking her out. Maybe it's creatures, maybe it's a stalker out there, who knows? I just love the sound of all of those elements, especially a snowy, isolated setting for winter. And reading the description was kind of giving me Stolen Tongues vibes, and I loved that book last winter, so I'm very excited for this one. I'm also a part of my friend Deja's Last Chapter book club, so I'm going to be reading her book club pick in January as well, which is The Overnight Guest by Heather something or other. I don't really know. And this is a very typical snowy, isolated thriller. Can you tell what type of atmosphere and vibes I'm looking for this January? It says a woman receives an unexpected visitor during a deadly snowstorm. She is a true crime writer who is isolated away in a farmhouse writing her new book by the cozy fire in complete silence. It seems like it should be perfect, if not for the fact that decades earlier at this very house she's in, 2 people were murdered in cold blood and a girl disappeared without a trace. As the storm worsens, she's haunted by the secrets in the walls of the house and the secrets of her own when she discovers a guest in the snow on the porch outside. After bringing them inside for warmth and safety, she searches for answers and maybe discovers she's not as isolated as she once thought. Doesn't that sound so good? I don't know. I just feel like me and Deja's book club picks absolutely slayed for January, and I'm ready for all the wintry vibes. Sticking with my wintry vibes, I want some cozy fantasy this month. As y'all know, at the end of 2023, I was absolutely obsessed with the ACOTAR series. I read the first book like 3 years ago and never thought that I would finish the series. I did not think I was a fantasy girl, but once I read ACOMAF, I was just totally sucked in. And now I want to read everything else in that universe. I want to read the other series and see like everything come together with all the different worlds. So my big project for the beginning of 2024 is reading and vlogging every single book in the Throne of Glass series. So I will be reading this and posting my vlog of it, which might not happen in January. This might be like a multiple months long project because I believe there are 9 books in the series, and one of them is going to be a tandem read, which I've never done before. I'm very excited to vlog it, but I know it's going to be a big time investment, so it might not come as quickly as I wanted to or as y'all wanted to. In this book, we're following the assassin Selena, who is trying to win her freedom from a vicious king. However, her fight for freedom quickly becomes a fight for survival and a desperate quest to root out evil before it destroys her world. So obviously, this is the first book, Throne of Glass. It looks like very approachable, very doable. Let me show y'all the rest of the series. Hello? Hello? I'm not a fantasy girl. I'm very new to this. I'm a little scared. I'm really scared. Also, look at these beautiful covers and how pretty this is gonna look on my shelves. This is a Christmas present. Yay. So yeah, I'm gonna be reading and vlogging this entire series. I'm in my fantasy era. I know that reading Sarah J. Maas is kind of problematic and very basic, but y'all have to understand I am very new to the fantasy genre, and this was just the most approachable way to start since I had already read ACOTAR 3 years ago. I am a hyperfixation person. Once I have read all the series and I have all the lore and my brain can calm down, I will also be branching out to other types of fantasy. Thank you so much for all the recommendations in the comments of my best books of the year video. And I think my most surprising video too, some really great recommendations for fantasy outside of SJM and like the stuff that just gets talked about on TikTok. So thank you so much for that. I cannot wait to read something like Jade City. I can't wait to read Chloe Gong. I have the Grishaverse. I have the Firekeeper's Daughter. I have so much fantasy to get into in 2024, but this is what I'm starting with. Big project, a little ambitious, but I'm very excited. And the book that's kind of connected to that project that I'm reading right now, actually I'm vlogging it for my Patreon, is The Assassin's Blade. This is the prequel set of novellas that go along with the Throne of Glass series. So it kind of gives us a lot of background on Selena the assassin. I am about 2/3 of the way through it right now, and I am absolutely loving it. It is so cozy. I cannot wait to get into the series. This book is really hyping me up for it. This will not be included in my Throne of Glass vlog. If you want to see my reading experience of Assassin's Blade, you can join the Patreon. Like I said, I'm filming it for over there, and it should be up in the next week or so. Next up, of course, I want to do a new release thriller vlog to kick off the year. So I have some very exciting picks for that. One of my most anticipated books of the year, Perfect Little Lives by Amber and Danielle Brown. This just sounds like a juicy and scandalous domestic thriller like I love. And Amber and Danielle Brown actually wrote one of my favorite thrillers of last year, Someone Had to Do It, so I'm excited to see their newer release. And this is basically about two people who just seem like normal suburban people discovering the dark secrets of their past and how their pasts have been intertwined. It sounds so scandalous. I cannot wait to review it for you. I also ordered The Engagement Party, which just came out at the tail end of 2023. I actually picked this up based on Ashley Winstead's recommendation. I had her on as a guest for my Pretty Girl Book Club live show in November when we read Midnight is the Darkest Hour, and she was letting us know the new releases that everybody needed to look out for because, of course, she's an author in the thriller community. She gets all the arcs, and this is one that she said she really loved. I'm not surprised because I've read Darby Kane's entire backlist and I have really liked every single one of her books. So I'm excited for her new one. It says Emily Hunt went missing from her affluent liberal arts college on graduation weekend. Her body was found floating in the river, and across campus, a quiet loner died by suicide. A tenuous link, just one text message, bound these two dead students together. And that was enough for police to close the case, but they got it wrong, and now someone is determined to set it right. 12 years later, all of these college friends are gathering to celebrate an engagement party at a swanky private island in Maine, where there's only one way in and one way out. Sierra Prescott, who is invited as a guest and is unconnected to the past events, is the only person who senses everything is not what it seems. Ooh, doesn't that sound so good? And I have an arc of The Guest by B.A. Paris. B.A. Paris is very hit or miss for me. She's written one of my favorite books of all time, Behind Closed Doors, but then we also had The Prisoner of last year, which was one of my worst books of the year and very disappointing. This one sounds really good though. It's about a couple who went on vacation and then they came back to one of their close friends just staying in their apartment. And they're like, hey girly, like we love you. You know we're here to support you. I'm sorry you're going through a rough time, but like you can't be living here. But she is staying. And she becomes increasingly unpredictable. Like the husband comes home and finds her wearing his wife's clothing. It just seems like a case of obsession and female friendship gone wrong, which I love those tropes in my thrillers, so I'm very excited to get into this one. So those are all the books that I'm going to either be vlogging, reading for my channel, reading for content purposes. All the rest of the books on my TBR are kind of just for funsies. The first little duo of books that I'm wanting to get to is very winter coded, and it is because of my reading from last year. I haven't spoken about this a ton on my channel. I will tell you about it when I do my December wrap up, which I think is just going to be lumped in with my January wrap up. I think I'm just going to do like a giant recent reads video about like 50 books that I've read recently. So keep an eye out for that. But in that video, I'll be talking about Ice Planet Barbarians, which was one of the most fun books that I read last month. And so I'm going to read the next two books in the series, Barbarian Lover and Barbarian Alien. These books are just absolutely insane. No thoughts, head empty alien smut, and I absolutely eat it up every time. There's really not much to them, but they're a fun little time when I just want to not think about anything very deeply and just have some fun. And I think while I'm getting into really my first like long heavy fantasy series, it would be fun to have this kind of mindless stuff to break it up. I also read my first manga book last year, and I want to continue that trend in 2024. I read the first little edition of Spy Family, so I have 2, 3, and 4 to get to hopefully this month as well. Again, I think it would be really fun to break up up the heaviness of Throne of Glass with little easy to read things in there, and these are just so fun, so heartwarming. I cannot wait to get further into this series as well. I also have a couple of my 5-star predictions on my radar for this month. I tend to forget about my 5-star predictions for the year, like halfway through the year, so I like to get a lot of them in during the first 6 months of the year. The 2 that I pulled to read this month are My Murder by Katie Williams. This is about a woman who is the victim of a serial killer and comes back to life to solve her own murder. And Delicate Condition by Danielle Valentine. This is a feminist retelling of Rosemary's Baby that the new season of American Horror Story is based on. I am almost done watching the new season of AHS, so as soon as I finish that, I will be reading the book. And hopefully both of those 5-star predictions work out and become new favorites. Next up, I just have a few books that were calling to me from my shelves that have been talked about or recommended that I'm really interested in getting to. First, we have the only like contemporary romance book on my TBR, which is Fool Me Once by Ashley Winstead. I love Ashley Winstead's thrillers, and I've yet to read one of her romances. When we had her on, like I mentioned on my live show for the book club, we were also talking about her writing process, and her writing process for romances just sounds so interesting. First of all, her writing process in general is very interesting. I'm not gonna just like give away all her secrets. You're gonna have to go watch the live show if you want to hear that, but I cannot wait to read this book just purely based on hearing about her writing process for it. And Fool Me Once is a contemporary romance about a woman who does not trust men. She's basically sworn off men. She wants nothing to do with them. She is just kind of like a career girl boss kind of girl. But then someone she actually didn't get along with in her past, who is also coincidentally an old flame, comes back up into her life, and she gets to know him. It's like lovers to enemies to lovers again, and it sounds like it's gonna be not just like a fluffy contemporary romance, but actually have something to say, which is what I love about Ashley Winstead's thrillers, so I can see that definitely carrying over into her romances as well. Next up, I want to read The Hollow Places. This has just been heavily recommended to me lately. I've never read from T. Kingfisher, and I'm really curious to see if their writing clicks with me. It's about a girl who is staying at her uncle's house, I believe. Yeah. And his house doubles as a tourist hotspot. It's the Glory to God Museum of Natural Wonders, Curiosities, and Taxidermy. So she is kind of keeping up this creepy museum as she takes care of her ailing uncle. And then she discovers a hole in the museum that leads to this like other world, and I guess it's called like the Hollow Place. I don't know. It's supposed to be like trippy horror, weird horror. I'm about it. Next up, I have a couple thrillers that just sound like they are really calling my name. The first one is No One Saw a Thing by Andrea Mara. This is about a mother and her 2 kids getting on the tube in London, and they unfortunately get separated. When the mom gets off at the next stop to try to find her kids, only one of them is waiting for her, and we are trying to figure out what happened to her other kid. And then the last book on my radar for January is 29 Seconds by T.M. Logan. This sounds like a super fast-paced, hard to put down thriller. Exactly what I like. And this is about a woman who witnesses an attempted kidnapping, and because she stops it, the father of the child who was almost kidnapped is like this powerful businessman, and he tells her that he will do her one like incredible favor. All it takes is this 29-second phone call where she has to basically give this man, this very powerful rich man, a name, and he will make this person disappear. It sounds like there's gonna be some like moral dilemma, morally gray stuff in here, and y'all know I love those themes in my thrillers. Also, just the name, like 29 seconds, it feels like it's gonna happen so fast and keep me on the edge of my seat, which is exactly what I love. So those are all of the books that I'm wanting to get to in January, the first month to kick off my 2024 reading. Let me know what you are planning to read in January down below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, don't forget to give me a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Also, don't forget to check out Dossier and my Patreon down below if you're interested in either of those. Thank you guys again so much for watching. Don't forget to go to therapy and read a book this week, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!